Well, I'm back with Kerry Benjoe, and she's sharing her experience with domestic violence. So, Kerry, you were at the point where you've fallen and you heard a snap.
Yeah, um, I fell on the floor and he was on the floor with me, crying, holding me, and I wanted to get up. And so I tried to get up, and when I stood up, I couldn't stand up. It was like my knee gave out,
Okay.
and I thought that something was wrong with my knee, and I looked at my knee and it was fine, and I was like really trying to um get my balance, but my left leg seemed really weak. And when I looked down, my my big toe and the one beside it
Mhm.
were facing towards me, like they were up. And I was like, I stepped on my foot, and they went back down. But then when I try to walk, like I couldn't. And then I was like, I think you broke my toe. And then so he got up and he was helping me, and I couldn't bear weight on it because it was just like not working. And he ran me a bath, and I got in a tub, and I was looking at my foot, and I seen a like a blue line across my toes. And it seemed to be okay for like it swelled up and seemed to be okay. Like I could kind of walk. It was hurting. I could kind of walk on it. Like I walked with a limp.
Right.
And I went to work the next day, and I told him that, well, I wasn't walking around. I just told him that, my I don't know what happened. I think I might have broke my foot, or I stubbed my toe. I told them the excuse that I was my kettle was on, and I was in the shower and I ran. My feet were still wet, and I slipped and I fell, and I think I either dislocated my toe or broke it. And it was swelling up during the day. And um I went to I finished my day, did my work. I didn't have to go out for the day at all. I just did my interviews at my desk, and at the end of the day, um I limped to my vehicle, and I told him that I had to go to the hospital because there was something seriously wrong. And so I went and did the X-rays and stuff, and then the doctor said that I broke my foot. There was a it was the arch, where my big toe goes, that bone. There was a crack. It was broken. And they put me in a walking boot, and they said I'd have to see the specialist, and they were going to decide whether or not I needed a cast or anything. Anyway, um, that was the start of, something that would haunt me even to this day.
Mhm.
Um, I was in the, I tried to stay off my foot as much as possible during this time. My coworker brought in his wheelchair for me to use, his son's wheelchair. And so that's how I got around. I Oh no, they didn't give me the boot that time. It was just wrapped up, and I had to wait to see the orthopedic surgeon.
Right.
And so my coworker brought in a wheelchair. Oh, they gave me crutches, and my coworker brought in a wheelchair. And so that's how I got around for 2 weeks until I seen the orthopedic surgeon, and orthopedic surgeon put the boot on me to for my foot. And about maybe 2 weeks after I got the boot, I noticed that there was like swelling on my ankle, and my foot didn't feel right. And I went to see a doctor, and he didn't want to do anything because he said I should see the specialist. And so I did go see a number of doctors because my foot was still hurting. And when I got back into the orthopedic surgeon, they said that my foot shifted. And so there was like this extensive damage to my foot, and that um I would need to get it. Oh, they're sending me another specialist. Anyway, the damage to during that time, like when I was in the wheelchair, he was being super helpful. He was, very he didn't mind, taking out that wheelchair, getting me in a wheelchair and scooting me around where we needed to go. Once again, he was like the perfect boyfriend. He was super attentive, super helpful. He didn't care that he had to carry me around, like to help me upstairs and stuff like that. He was, he was, he went above and beyond to like make sure I was like well cared for. And he was really good at that. And he was with me during those times when I got the updates on my foot, like there was more damage than they realized. And the being in a boot, and he would always make sure that, like, he put the boot on for me. Like he would like make sure it was all fastened up, make sure I was like all snug, and he took really good care of me that way. And I ended up being in that boot for 3 years.
Wow.
um yeah. Our Saskatchewan health system is not the best,
Wow.
but I think it was about 18 months of being in that boot when I seen the orthopedics specialist, and he told me that um because of the where the break was, that he would have to fuse my foot. And and he said what that would mean essentially is that my foot would be dead. He said, I won't have any functionality of it.
Mhm.
He said, I won't be able to move it. And he said, be prepared. He said that because my foot is going to be locked in one position, that it's going to be prone to injury, that I may get reoccurring injuries, and there's going to be potential to have partial amputation, leading up to a full amputation. And I was like, that news was so hard to swallow.
Yeah.
And so I was in that state, having been with him for so long and stuff already. I was in that dysfunctional mindset, where, you did this to me, so, you're stuck with me now. You're going to have to look after me forever kind of thing.
Right.
It was sort of like an irrational sense of, trying to punish him for what he did. But yeah, that just triggered an even worse spiral for us, because now I wasn't able to move as quickly. I wasn't able to get away from him as quickly as I could before,
Right.
because I was a lot slower, and a lot weaker, because with that foot, I was in a lot of pain. I was still working full time, but walking on snow, walking on terrain that was uneven,
Mm-hmm.
would sometimes cause my foot to jiggle, and I could feel it. I could feel those bones grinding sometimes.
Right.
And what I was essentially doing was like re-breaking my foot, like for that time period that I was in that cast or in the boot. And so I lived in constant pain. I don't think I had a good night's sleep in about 4 years.
Wow.
My foot was broken for 4 years. And so with that broken foot, my health deteriorated to the point where I had to take health leave from my job because I was like so tired from never sleeping, and I was in constant pain, and I just felt sick.
Right.
And so I took 2017, May 2017, I took my holidays. I had a month of holidays, and I took that. And when it was almost over, I went to, because I just, even that month's rest, I didn't feel good. And I went to the doctor, and he told me that my my blood was really poor, and that I was severely anemic, and I was losing blood somewhere. They couldn't really pinpoint. And so he gave me a doctor's note, and I took it to work, and I said I couldn't return, and he gave me 3 months or whatever
Mm-hmm.
of you know, not working. And yeah, and so my health deteriorated. It just kept deteriorating. This was 2017. I think it was 2017. Yeah, it was 2017. And this was like the end of, like I was so sick. My 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 bad foot was making me sick. And so, and our relationship wasn't getting any better. My daughter moved in with me because my mom was keeping her. And yeah, we just got stuck in this rut of you know, he could be, you know, as verbally abusive as he wanted to be, like,
Mm.
and I would just, you know, kind of, oh yeah, that's just the way he is, and just ignore him and just continue living. And that just became our routine. That's just how we were, I guess.
Right.
And it wasn't until my daughter in 2017 moved back in with me, and the end of summer, like she was going to go to school. And, just having her around me, it just felt, I felt a little bit more like myself.
Right.
And, it kind of brought me back to life. And I think he didn't like the attention I was giving her. And in October, late October, he he never ever did anything to her previously, but he he verbally assaulted her. And that just, my mother instinct just came out, and
Right.
I was like, that's it, like, we're done. I will start looking for a place for she and I. And, you know, I moved downstairs into her room. And so I slept with her, and had the upstairs. And yeah, we just continued living in a house, but separate. And
Mm.
so I was in the process of um, moving out, finding a place, um, separating our items, because I was still trying to be amicable. We weren't together. We weren't speaking. We weren't communicating. We were just living in the house separately.
Right.
And so, um, December 2017, I was packing up. I had boxes. I had all my stuff, and I was fully prepared to leave. Um, And I left the house to give my friend a ride. I went out and out of town, picked her up, and then she wanted me to stay with her for overnight. And my daughter was 14 at the time, and so I told her that I was gonna stay over here, and I figured she was fine because that was her house, and she had her TV, she had her game, she was good. He was supposed to be there, and I came home the next day with like lunch and stuff or food, and my key didn't work. And I was like, well, that's weird. And nobody was answering. And I was messaging him. I was like, hey, what's wrong with the door? Blah, blah, blah. I was like, then I was messaging my daughter. I didn't know where she was. She wasn't responding. And I was like, what's going on here? And then I started trying to track them down. And my other daughter phoned and said, oh, Johnny's over here in my place. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I went there, and my daughter said that he just woke her up and dropped her off at my other daughter's. And yeah, he changed the locks, he kept everything. And so we were essentially kicked out. And that sort of was the moment, that
Yeah.
I guess kind of changed. Like there was a lot of moments in my life, but that was, you know, one where I had to really reflect, because I had never ever thought I would be homeless. I had moved into his house because, you know, he wanted to take care of me, because I was living in an apartment that had 2 flights of stairs, and, he was in a nice townhouse. He had a good job, and he was like, it was just, I was at this point of where I was like, you know, a little more needy. I I realized that, with my broken foot and everything, that, you know, he was there. He wanted to look after me. And so I moved in with him. And so suddenly we were in his house. And so
Yeah.
um he kicked me out, me and my daughter. And we were in the midst of moving out, but he wasn't gonna let me move out. He had to have one little last
Mhm.
power play. And so he cut off all contact. He wouldn't answer. Um, he kept everything. I just had the clothes on my back. My daughter just had what she left the house in. And yeah, and that was such a wake-up call. Suddenly I was sleeping on the floor of my oldest daughter's living room, and I realized that, I have to do something.
Right.
And so I had to swallow my pride and, go to a women's shelter, because I didn't want to live off my children. And,
Yeah.
I needed to get back on my feet. And yeah, I ended up in a women's shelter. And I think that was the best thing that could have happened. He thought he was doing the worst possible thing,
Mm.
but it ended up being the best possible place for me to be, because I was surrounded with women who were in the similar situations. and and I realized, right, while I was there, they had counseling services. They have women who were trained to um, deal with this sort of situation and be compassionate. And I realized that, me being silent, me trying to, soldier through everything, me trying to keep this facade of, a successful Indigenous woman who is, um, a role model and, advocate and all this stuff. Um, I realized that I still needed to take care of me. And unless, and it wasn't until I started being in those group sessions, talking to these ladies and finding this support system that I was able to just, you know, see what was happening and realize and take myself out of it and analyze it and really make that break
Mhm.
and change how I was thinking. Because, that 7 years of being with him,
Yeah.
I forgot who I was. I forgot how strong I was. I forgot everything my mom taught me. I forgot everything that I stood for. And so being with those women, it just, I found my backbone again. I know my children were feeling um, bad that I was in a shelter. Like they thought it
Mm.
was, someplace their mother shouldn't be. But that was like, that is exactly where I was supposed to be at that exact moment. And I found myself again, and I found my strength, and I found my backbone, and I remembered who I was. I was Kerry Benjoe, and I didn't take that kind of shit,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and um and I focused, and I remember being in that shelter that first night, and I was holding um Johnny. She was 14, but she slept with me, and I remember hugging her, and I was like, "Don't worry, baby. This is just temporary. Mommy's gonna get it all back." And she just looked at me, and she just said, "I know." And yeah, it was quite the experience, because um at that time my short-term health benefits ran out with my work, so I didn't have an income. So I was broke, I was homeless, I was unhealthy physically, so I couldn't get a job. I
Yeah.
was in a shelter. I didn't have anything. I had a friend of mine drop off clothes because I didn't have clothes, and so that's what we were both sharing. We had a little bag of clothes that we were sharing, and from there, I was determined to, get back on my feet and, get it all back. And I had a purpose. I wanted to get a home. I want to get all my stuff back. I wanted to um, build something again for me and my daughter. And during this time too, um, my ex wouldn't give me back anything, and I had asked for my diploma.
Right.
Um, my dad, the only picture I have of my dad, I asked for that. I asked for my photo album and my Christmas tree. That's all I asked for. I was like,
Yeah.
that's all I want. You can keep everything else. I don't care. Those are all I want. Silence. He wouldn't respond. And so there was that grieving process of losing everything that I had
Mhm.
built up. And it was like losing um, memories, losing a friend.
Mhm.
Like I know it's material things, but it hit me hard. And
Yeah.
I mourned that while I was in the shelter. I mourned that, and I came to terms with it. Um, he didn't contact me. He contacted one of my oldest daughter and told her that, you know, I could come pick up my items. And then I was like, no, I didn't want them. But she wanted them. She wanted me to get my stuff back. And so I was like, okay. And so got a we got a storage space and a rental van, because I was still in the shelter when he did allow me to have my stuff back.
Yeah.
And so we got that, picked up our things, and um, like I said, I got my fighting spirit back, and I wasn't about to take anything. And I wanted my vacuum, and he took it. He wasn't going to give me back. And I was like, "Where's my vacuum?" Because that was a birthday present he bought for me, was this vacuum. and I wanted it. And he was like, no, you're not going to get it back. And then I was like, give me my vacuum. I was like, or you give me back everything I ever bought you, if that's going to be the case. I was like, I'm not leaving without my vacuum. And so we started arguing, and I started like looking in the rooms and stuff, and he grabbed me and he like shook me up and he shoved me, and I went stumbling, and my son-in-law was like hauling stuff out, and my son was hauling stuff out, and so I had witnesses that he was yelling around and that he laid hands on me. And then when I got back to the shelter, I told him that I moved all my things, and they said, how'd it go? How was that? And I was like, it was okay. I was like, until the end when he grabbed me and he shoved me, and they like, he grabbed you and he shoved you, and I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, that's not right, because I hadn't seen him in like over 2 months,
Right.
and he still felt like he had the right to put his hands on me. Um, and they said, what do you want to do? And I was like, um, they said, that's assault. And they said, what do you want to do? And I was like, I want to go to the police. And I said, I feel like if I don't do this and I move out and I'm on my own, what's going to stop him from, approaching me again and thinking he can put his hands on me? And I was like, I'm going to do this. And, I filed the charges, and I didn't back down. I never backed down. And I was scared. We had our day in court and whatever.
Mhm.
Um, in August, September came, my daughter enrolled in school, and I was in a house. I had my own house, and I moved into second stage shelter for a bit. From the shelter, I got into second stage shelter, and then from there I got into another house, and my long-term health benefits kicked in, and so I had an income, so I was able to get back on my feet. I had a new place to stay. I had money to furnish my home, and everything was looking up. I went through the first day of the trial, and it went good. um and so everything, September, everything was good. And October came along. I was still feeling like ill, like not tired.
Really?
I just thought I was um um under the weather. October 30th, I woke up so sick, and I was like, there's something seriously wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me. Checked myself into a hospital. And I guess my damaged foot was essentially killing me. Um, my blood was really bad. It was really poor. Um, and I got the diagnosis on my foot because they were gonna see if they could fix it. And then they told me that, you know, the bone had deteriorated, that there wasn't enough bone, even if they wanted to like um what is it called? Um, fuse it.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, and so there wasn't enough. The bone was damaged, is damaged beyond repair. And after 4 consultations with the plastic surgeon, other surgeons, the consensus was that I needed to amputate it. Like my best possible outcome was to amputate it.
Right.
And because they said they could partially amputate it, like there was the other parts of my bones were still good,
Mm-hmm.
but they said what that would do is um um I would need surgery, grafts, probably more surgery, physiotherapy, all this other stuff. And I had been living in pain for, this was year 4.
Right.
And I asked them, I was like, what will end the pain? And they said, if you amputate it. And I was thinking like at the ankle, and they said, no, below the knee. And they said 13 centimeters below the knee. He was like, that's the honey spot. And I just burst out crying, and I grabbed my leg and I was holding it. And the doctor was there, and he was like telling me that having a prosthesis wasn't as dire and it wasn't as life altering as it was in previous years. He said there's so many advancements made,
Right.
and that I could live a full life with a prosthetic leg. Me, I loved my legs. I used to think they were like my best feature. I have really long legs, and I used to love wearing mini skirts and tights and, dressing them up, high heels, boots. And, that idea, I had to let it go at that moment. And I didn't know what my future was going to be like, but I knew I wanted to be here because there was so much I needed to do still.
Right.
And when he said that, if they amputate my leg below the knee, that it would end the pain. And that was more important to me, like to end that pain.
Right.
And so I did. I agreed, and I told my mom about it, and she came to see me. And I always feel bad for this because my mom is a really strong woman, and when she seen me, she just burst out crying, and she was like, "Oh, my baby."
Oh. We're almost out of time again.
That's a really,
But you know what we're going to do? We'll end it. We'll end this. This is going to air
yeah.
on the 19th of this month, okay? But we're going to reschedule another interview. And we're going to talk about after,
Mhm.
like life afterwards. You've had your amputation. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. That's another story. That's
Yeah,
a
well,
really
that's what
long
I figure
story,
it's got to
isn't it?
be it. Yeah. Because we don't want to put, we make this too long, people are not going to want to watch, right?
Yeah.
When it's all together. But anyway, this will air on the 19th. So yeah, as soon as we're finished, as soon as I'm finished here, I'll message you and we'll set up another date for September. Okay?
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Okay, so everybody, by the way, I just want to tell everybody, abuse can just sneak up on you, and it can start, like, there's different forms of abuse. When I grew up, I thought the only kind of abuse was physical or sexual. I didn't know about emotional abuse.
Mhm.
There's things you don't even realize until after you've experienced it, kind of, right? But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, Kerry Benjoe has a really important story, and I hope you listen to it. And if you have young girls, get your young girls to listen to it too, because it really is important that we protect ourselves and each other. Right? Thank you, everybody, for watching. And there's more with Kerry Benjoe coming up in September. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care and peace out. Thank you, Kerry.
Okay. Bye.
All right, yeah, so I'll send you a message. Sorry about this. I'll send you a message, and then we'll continue, as I said, in September, whatever date is convenient for you, because it's basically wide open right now, okay?
Yeah, we can start with like going into surgery and then coming out.
Okay, that's really good start. Okay, and I will make a note because I have to, I'm getting old, I forget stuff about where we left off. All right, thank you, Kerry.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks. Bye-bye for now.
Always good to talk to you.
Thank you. I appreciate you being on the show.
Okay, bye.
Bye.